Every day it seems like there's some more bad news. Fires, earthquakes, flood.
Our pets' heads are falling off!
The following is a World-Class Bullshitters exclusive.
If you've been following the channel for any amount of time, you know that collecting has always been a pillar here on the channel. If it isn't going out to see what doesn't sell or checking out what's coming up, it's talking about the news around the industry that we love so much collecting. And sadly, that industry is dying. No, it's not because everyone was snapped out of existence by Thanos. No, it wasn't because toys are all of a sudden lame to most people. It's because of the lame decisions made by the people who make the products. For the last few years, prices have been going through the roof. If there is an orifice that a penny could be squeezed out of, these companies have squeezed and squeezed and squeezed some more. And now, the milk's gone bad, Charlie Murphy, and everything's dried up. Add to the fact that there's a sense of apathy from collectors. I know personally, I'm not really interested to buy very much in 2025. Is it because my wallet's hurting and I'm afraid of what's coming next? No, it's because there's not a lot of shit that's worth buying. And well, it looks like that pool is about to shrink even more. As you guys know, I will collect anything that catches my eye. It doesn't matter who makes it. But there is a company that when I see their name, I tend to turn away. And that company is the focus of today's video. Super7, or Super7 as they're known officially. Super7 is in the nostalgia game. They love to take toys from our childhood, repackage them as new, exciting, and overpriced pieces of crap, and well, try to sell them to you. And try they have. Now, for every successful line they have like Ninja Turtles, there's an absolute failure like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. I have not canceled a lot of pre-orders in my life, but the Super7 Power Rangers were high on my list as soon as production images started popping up of what they actually looked like. You see, Super7 is the king of releasing rendered images that make their products look really good, and then when you get them in hand, they look very, very, very disappointing. After that disappointing Power Rangers run, I pretty much swore them off because I'm not interested in their 5 points of articulation pieces of crap, or their really poorly designed articulated figures that cost $60 and they look less than a Hasbro figure, and that's saying a lot. Now, Super7 is not the only company who shit the bed post-pandemic. Hasbro, Mattel, all of them have made bad mistakes. But Super7 is making another mistake that I just can't support. They might be lying. Now, we've all heard about the dreaded T-word tariff. Everybody's tariffing their hair out every time they hear the damn word. Well, some places are using it as an excuse to raise prices, like Microsoft or Nintendo. But we don't cover video games. Nobody watches those videos. What you do care about are the toys. And while Super7 is having to cut back on a lot of their toys because of the tariffs. Let's just take a look at the article, shall we? Collectible toy company Super7 has laid off team members in 16 states as a result of tariffs on imports. The company announced the 145% tariffs initially announced stopped all new product from leaving the factory and required payment of sky-high import taxes on product that was on its way to the US when tariffs were announced. The 90% reduction in tariffs to 30% is still a massive change in costs. Super7 Brian Flynn describes the layoffs. Those were people who were doing their best work in the industry, none of whom deserved to be let go, he wrote. I want to be clear that this reduction in staff is a direct result of the tariffs applied to our industry. The preceding 6 months before the tariff announcement had been Super7's best since its inception of the company nearly 24 years ago. Then the landscape changed overnight. Going forward, Flynn said, the company will need to be smaller and focus on the core of our business while being very specific about what we make. I never take joy in anyone losing a job. I never take joy in any company going out of business. Unless it's Disney, but that's a topic for another day. And while this news is sad and disheartening for the people that have lost their jobs, it's also bullshit, and it's not world class. There's this little thing called social media, and 90% of the time it's absolute crap, but the other 10% of the time it's incredibly valuable. And this is one of those instances. So after Super7 released their super saccharine press release about how they had to lay off people and no one deserved to be fired, a former employee of the company spoke out to dispute the quote-unquote official story. A former employee of Super7 chimed in on this discussion after this press release was released, and this is what he has to say. So why was I and other staff members laid off during those most successful preceding 6 months, before the tariffs? This is the most tone-deaf thing I've ever seen from a former employee. So I've suspected for a while that companies would use these tariffs to jack up prices and make excuses to look good publicly. Because at the end of the day, they don't care about you or me, the people who buy their products. They care about shareholders. They care about ways to make more money. And why shouldn't they? They're a business. But we are also a part of that business transaction, and customers don't like being lied to. I know I don't like being lied to. I can understand a company having to make difficult decisions, having to make these changes to stay afloat. But what I can't stand by and support is when they're lying. And if they were so profitable in the previous 6 months, the best the company's ever been, why were people being laid off? It smells a bit fishy. Now, I've done more research, and I have found examples of people posting about how they've been laid off due to the tariff situation. And again, they have my complete sympathy. But the press release really irks me the wrong way. Because I've had a lot of bad experiences with the company, and I've had a lot of disappointment with the company. And so I guess I shouldn't be surprised that their press release is as reliable as their action figures. Hell, I had one break on me the second I took it out of the box. No response, no quality control, no customer service. Hey, screw me, right? It's not like I spent $60 on something. But there is something I want to address in the press release. Brian Flynn from Super7 says the company will need to be smaller and focus on the core of their business while being very specific about what they make. What is the core of your business, and what is the specifics of what you make? I've made countless videos where I go into stores talking about what does not sell. And you know what doesn't sell? Super7 figures. Sadly, I don't have footage of this, but the other night on my way to a movie, I stopped into Target just to see what was up. And what I found were pegs and pegs full of Super7 action figures being clearanced. Now, toys being clearanced are nothing new. Good stuff goes to clearance, bad stuff goes to clearance, crap goes to Ollie's. We know the circle of life. Hell, if you look even closely into Ollie's videos, there are Super7 action figures on those shelves. But Super7 is in the business of making obscure garbage. Did you know that Super7 has a line of action figures from Parks and Rec, Office, and about a million other pointless garbage action figures? If they're going to shrink down their business, what are they actually going to make? They're not really into the toy business, they're into the nostalgia business. Like I said earlier at the beginning of this video, they make Ninja Turtles and Power Rangers, but they're also known for these reaction-style figures, which are nostalgia-fueled Kenner ripoffs based on properties that didn't have toys. Stuff like Back to the Future, American Psycho, The Golden Girls, and a whole lot more. And that's been their core business for quite some time, and if they're having all these record sales and record profits, that's great, but what do actually people want from Super7? Their reaction figure line has been so successful, in fact, that other companies are starting to copy them and do it just as good, if not better. There's a new style of retro Superman action figures being released alongside with this upcoming film, and they're based off the 1978 Superman the movie. You get figures like Jor-El, Superman, Lois Lane, Zod, and Lex Luthor. And these figures have all the same Kenner retro aesthetics that people are nostalgic for. They're also sold at a fraction of the price. Super7 wanted to charge nearly $20 for one of these figures. I said no every single time, because as much as I love Pennywise or Planet of the Apes or Sesame Street, a little action figure that's 3.75 inches tall isn't worth nearly $20. And that begs the question, how are they going to recover? How are they going to get to the core of their business? Nostalgia has been stretched to its limits, thinner than Kate Moss. I look at the word nostalgia and I roll my eyes. It's part of the nightmare of my never-ending childhood. I can't get away from nostalgia. If I go out to the theater, hey, they're remaking a movie that I had as a kid. You go to the toy store, hey, you can still get Batman Forever action figures on the shelves. No matter where I go, it's the same crap from 20 and 30 years ago. As a society, we've never moved forward, and companies like Super7 are part of the reason why we never move forward. They make money off Ninja Turtles and shit from the 80s, like Thundercats and Silverhawks. And after a while, it gets tiresome. I'm tired of the lack of paint. I'm tired of the lack of articulation. I'm tired of the lack of new ideas in society. But that's a tangent for another video I'm currently working on. Super7 has pretty much placed themselves out of the market by being irrelevant. Another, larger company can come in and do exactly what they do with bigger IP and property, and you don't really need Super7 anymore. Why should I pay $20 for their Superman when I can get another company's Superman for $10? What appeal is there for their Thundercats action figures that have less and less articulation and cost $35.49 for a lino? I don't want Super7 to go out of business. I don't want anyone to lose their job. I just want people to have the conversation, what do they actually offer? And if things were so great, why were people being let go before the tariffs were introduced? I think it's a lot of spin, but that's nothing new from a company. At the end of the day, I take this news as sad news. I can't take pleasure in anyone losing a job. People work their entire lives to make it in these industries, and then it's taken away in the blink of an eye. And that's sad and that's messed up. But I don't think there's anything wrong with asking questions and taking a deeper look at their press release. Because if they're going to be very specific about what they make, they're going to make much, much less. Which means they're going to need less people to make those products. So at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like anything will be resolved where a bigger workforce will come in. Years ago, it was really cool to see Kenner's unreleased Alien action figures produced by Super7. It was a neat what if, a look into the world that could have been. And then we got the figures, and we've moved on. The business of nostalgia can't last forever, and honestly, it shouldn't last forever. I'm not saying we need to let go of the past or throw it away or kill it like Kylo Ren says, but I do think it would be nice to live in a world where we're not bombarded with a certain generation's childhood over and over and over again. And that's my childhood I'm talking about. So what do you think of this situation? I think it's an ugly mess. I think it's sad. I think it's terrible. However, do I think it could have been avoided? Well, if employees had been let go before all this tariff talk, then it kind of shows you that this press release is full of it, and the 6 months prior weren't that great. It feels like almost political posturing at this point. But what isn't in 2025? Everything seems to be political posturing to prove a point to look better than you truly are. All I can say is this: good luck, Super7, good luck to everyone out there that's lost a job, and good luck to fellow collectors. This is just the industry that we love shrinking. So when you go to the store, you might not be able to find your $40 Putty Patroller action figure or your Golden Girls retro VHS-inspired garbage. And at the end of the day, that's the kind of stuff I'm okay to lose. And sadly, most of that comes from Super7. I've said enough. I want to know what you guys think. Let me know down in the comments below. If I keep ranting, I will go on for an hour about how I don't like that we're stuck in this window of like 1977 to 1999. We keep making shit from that era over and over and over again. It was great. I lived through it. I'm sure you had a great time too. But maybe stop. I don't know. Let's do something else with our plastic. Let's make other action figures. I have a shelf full of certain characters, but after a while, even I'm tired of this stuff. I don't need a 5 points of articulation version of Spider-Man for the same price as a Marvel Legend figure. I think niche collecting is on its way out. It's much like the video game industry. They want to jack up prices to $80. They forget that most gamers have a huge back catalog. That's how I feel about a lot of collectors. Oh, the new stuff is lower quality and people aren't going to buy it? Well, guess what? There are literally millions of other products out there that you could get on the secondhand market. Go to flea markets, go to cons, go to all these places, and you can go out and buy that stuff there. You'll get the same dopamine rush, and it'll look just as good on your shelves, depending on the condition of the toy. But folks, that's officially it for me right now. Thanks for watching. Make sure you join me live on Tuesdays and Thursday nights. We need to get those numbers up, and we need each and every one of you there. Send in topics, send in discussions. We'll have fun together. And get ready for some more bracket battle. We're going to turn that into its own video series here on the channel. I'm getting content creators from all over the internet to play rousing games of bracket battle. We're going to figure out what is the best of everything here on WCVS. Because remember, folks, we are world class before we're BS. Until next time, folks, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. What do you do when online outrage turns people into literal monsters? You call the Wokebusters. Wokebusters is a laugh-out-loud comic book parody that zaps all the terrible tropes of modern entertainment and lampoons society's lamest aspects. This 100-page epic graphic novel has been called hilarious, action-packed, well-crafted, and beautifully drawn. But don't take my word for it, see for yourself. Fans are loving it so much they're sending me fan art, which is a surreal first. Don't miss out, join them today. Head on over to WokebustersComic.com right now, which is powered by Shopify, so you get the reward-winning safety and security, and grab yourself a copy of the funniest graphic novel of 2025, Wokebusters. They're here to save society from itself.